as they speak in Latin, you will hear the translation. Senior Cardinal Deacon Turan.
I announce to you a great
We announce to you good news. We have a hope.
Most eminent and most reverend Lord, Cardinal of the Holy Roman Church, Giorgio Mario Bergoglio, who takes the name Francis.
Jesuit.
A Jesuit pope from Argentina, the first pope in 2,000 years from the New World.
Who was a front runner also, at least discussed last time.
He received, in the last vote, he received 40. In the last election, he received 40 votes. A wonderful man of the poor. He goes around Argentina. He doesn't have his own car. He goes on the public transport. Isn't it a great sign for us?
40% of the world's Catholics live in Latin America. And now, in this historic moment, a pope has been elected from Argentina.
It's amazing because they've gone outside of Europe, but they've also gone to a Jesuit for the first time. And I bet the Jesuits are surprised and possibly celebrating. And that's a big deal. The Jesuits, the head of the Jesuits is already known as the Black Pope, so I don't know what that means, but
What is the significance, Delia, for our audience in the Catholic Church of this new pope being a Jesuit?
well, the Jesuits have a long history of, we could say, relationship with the papacy, sometimes contentious. And first of all, we should mention that the Jesuits are what they call an order of the Catholic Church. So, like the Dominicans and like the Franciscans, they don't tend to become popes. They don't tend to become bishops.
They are extending the papal tapestry, and we are hearing that the new pope has chosen the name Francis.
Beautiful. Interesting. Some years ago, Cardinal Bergoglio gave me a medal, and it bore the image of the Virgin Mary untying knots. Maybe this is what he wants through papacy, that the knots in the church are now untied for the good of people. Isn't this wonderful for us?
Born in Buenos Aires, a native of Argentina, was ordained in the Jesuit order in 1969.
I'm surprised, though.
As the Vatican staff prepares the loggia, we will be seeing the Pope very shortly, who we are told has taken the name Francis.
Beautiful.
That's a lovely choice. That's a lovely, lovely choice. The simplicity of St. Francis and St. Francis's work and love for the poor, I think, is very symbolic in that choice.
Really, and you know what? When Francis converted, he received the word from Jesus, Francis, rebuild my church. Francis, rebuild my church. So Francis thought it was with bricks and mortar. Then he realized it was a demoralized church. I believe this is what Cardinal Bergoglio, Pope Francis, wants to do for the church. Be a sign of poverty, simplicity, humility, and rebuild the church for the good of Catholics and non-Catholics.
Well, the former Cardinal Bergoglio is an advocate for the poor and has championed social programs in his native Argentina. And he has questioned free market economics, which he has blamed for impoverishing some people in the world. The curtains have closed, we can expect that the next time we see them open, the world will be introduced to Pope Francis. Francis the First. Monsignor, you know this man.
I do. This is absolutely incredible because he's a man of such enormous simplicity who would never have wished the papacy. But by the cardinals choosing him, he is that third man we on CBS have been talking about. You know, we were saying that there are these front runners, but perhaps the cardinals will go with someone completely unexpected to give a sign to the world. And this man who is 76, I think that's very significant as well, because he knows that he has just a short space of time now to make an enormous difference for the world. He doesn't want all the pomp and circumstance perhaps that the Vatican Curia has been embroiled in recent years. We are in, I believe, for very big change in the right direction, Scott.
And what change would you expect from him?
I believe we're going to become a church that symbolizes greater poverty, both in its mode of preaching, both in its mode of acting, and especially for looking after those who are poor, the sick, the suffering, those in need. I think people tonight across the United States, across the whole world, can be filled with great hope and great joy.
And, you know, in a very interesting way, he is a bridging figure between the history of the church and the future of the church. His parents were Italian immigrants. His heritage is Italian, but he was born in the New World.
That's right, and he was appointed by John Paul II. He was in the running for Pope the last time, but I think what he is most known for is his humility. He is from the Society of Jesus, the Jesuit, was a philosopher, so he clearly has that academic background that is key, but a man who has chosen to live in a tiny apartment instead of the finery that he could live in, known to cook his own meal, and has given up the limousine that is afforded a cardinal and instead walks or takes a taxi. So that will certainly be something to remark on. It's not clear his background in terms of management. We've heard so much. Many of the scholars that I spoke with, Catholic experts, talked about the need for someone who can govern and reform the Curia.
The Curia being the governing body, essentially, of the church here in Rome, the Pope's cabinet, if you will. Delia Gallagher, what are the cardinals? Oh, here's the picture. We believe this is the first picture of Francis I. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a file picture. I beg your pardon. This is the man who will be introduced to the world as Francis I. That is Cardinal Bergoglio of Argentina. He is, I should say, the new Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. Delia, tell us, what are the cardinals saying to the world in making this selection?
Well, you talk about him bridging Europe and the developing world, but he also bridges, I think, the conservative-liberal divide, if you will, within the cardinals, the College of Cardinals. That is to say that, yes, he's not a Vatican insider, which has obviously also worked in his favor, but he's acceptable to those in the Curia. That's clear by the fact that he's been elected, but also because he was talked about in the previous conclave. And I think we've got pictures there from inside. That certainly looks like
that was him. That picture that we just saw was live. That was your first image of the man who is now known as Francis I, the new Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. Any minute now, we will see the red curtains part, and he will be introduced to the world.
A great linguist as well. He speaks Italian fluently, Spanish. We'll be interested to see what languages he uses tonight.
Mark Phillips says we're waiting to see the curtain part. Well, before we before we go to Mark, let us explain to you what's happening. These are the cardinal electors. These are the cardinals who just made one of their own, Francis